For the past 40 plus years, the Toyota Camry has remained the quintessential family car for hundreds of thousands of buyers across the world due to its appealing combination of comfort, reliability, space, and efficiency. Now, as you guys know, last year Toyota introduced an all-new 9th generation Camry, taking a big gamble because they discontinued all the gas-only variants, making every Camry powered by an electrified hybrid powertrain. Now, of course, that gamble has essentially paid off because this model essentially remains the top-selling family sedan here in America. So as you can see, this week we are testing out the latest 2026 Camry, a fully loaded XSE all-wheel drive trim painted in this beautiful color called Supersonic Red. And the big question I want answered for those of you who are still in the market for a mid-size family sedan, is the latest Camry still the best option out there? Stay tuned to find out. Now, before we start talking about the unique styling direction that Toyota went, of course, with the latest 9th generation Camry, let me go ahead and pop the hood and remind you guys what's powering this thing. Now, the previous generation Camry offered a choice of 3 different powertrains. However, for this all-new 9th generation, Toyota has basically simplified things because every Camry is powered by an electrified hybrid 4-cylinder. Now, as you can see, if you guys are familiar with the Toyota Powertrain family, you'll know this engine is their 5th generation of their latest hybrid Synergy drive. It combines a 2.5-liter dynamic force gasoline direct injection 4-cylinder with either 2 or 3 electric motors. This model that we are showing you has all-wheel drive, which means it adds a separate rear electric motor, adding another 40 horsepower and 63 foot-pounds of torque. The gas engine on its own delivers 184 horsepower and 163 pound-feet of torque. Combine that output, of course, with the electric motors, and this model gets a total of 232 horsepower, and Toyota does not quote a combined torque figure. If you guys go for a front-wheel drive Camry, it'll offer still a very impressive 225 horsepower. That's the most power that you're going to get from the hybrid family, mid-size family sedan class. So as you guys know, the Accord hybrid has less power, the Sonata hybrid has less power, so the Camry definitely has the best stats on paper. It all goes out through a continuously, or it's an electronic eCVT. It's technically, it functions like a CVT, but it's an electronic CVT, so it's not the same kind of CVT you'd find in some other models. And fuel economy is very impressive. Some Camrys can get up to 52 mpg in the city. This model, however, is the least efficient, getting 43 in the city and 43 on the highway, 43 combined. Combine that with its 13-gallon fuel tank, and you're looking at around 550 miles of range on a full tank. Again, that's very impressive. And that's the least efficient Camry. Some models should be able to go over 600 miles due to, that over 50 mpg mark. Now, Toyota doesn't quote a 0 to 60 time. The last one we tested around a year and a half ago did it in around 7 seconds dead. Top speed should be around 115 miles an hour. And as this car sits, it weighs in at just under 3,700 pounds. Keep in mind, the all-wheel drive system adds roughly 100 pounds to the curb weight. Now, closing the heavy hood on the Camry, this is where I was hoping Toyota would eventually add struts as opposed to that prop rod. Let's go ahead and talk about the exterior styling. Now, I have to say, when this generation Camry came out, I thought it was a big improvement from the previous 8th generation, which I think had a lot of awkward angles. Now, definitely, it makes a difference on the trim level based on the styling because Toyota gives the front fascia a unique look for almost all the trims. You can see the hood is very sculpted. It has these very angry-looking hammerhead style full LED headlights, which, as you can see on the XSE, includes an amber illuminated daytime running light. You have a stacked projector style LED low and high beam. The front fascia, you can see, has that look that they introduced on the new Prius. This model has a panoramic 360 camera, although I wish that Toyota would have centered the camera in the middle as opposed to off to the left side of the vehicle. And then it has that kind of mail slot grille here because it requires some functional cooling. Same thing down here at the lower fascia. I also like the kind of body colored hexagonal grille insert with the integrated parking sensors, and you can see the XSE has a more aggressive front splitter, which almost has these little winglets, whatever, at the front. And in this Supersonic Red, this color definitely stands out. My test car also has the black two-tone roof. That's an extra $985 if you guys want this color. Now, moving around to the side profile, you can see this is built on a modified version of the latest Toyota TNGA architecture, so it's still technically the same platform as the previous generation Camry. but Toyota did make the vehicle around an inch longer at 193.5 inches long with the same 111-inch long wheelbase. This vehicle is around 72.4 inches wide. Keep in mind, if you guys are looking at some of the Camry's other vehicles in the Toyotas, or some of the Camry's other cousins in the Toyota lineup, there's the Crown, which is around 196 inches long. Same thing with the Lexus ES, although the new ES, which we haven't had a chance to drive yet, we'll be driving that in May, is going to be significantly longer than this vehicle, like 9 inches longer than the current generation Camry. Now, I really love the wheels that come standard on the XSE grade. These are unique, of course, to this trim. They're an 19-inch alloy wheel. Riding on a 235 by 40 R19 Bridgestone all-season tire. The brakes are 12-inch diameter at the front, 11-inch at the back. You have an all-independent suspension, but no adaptive dampers. That's a feature that Lexus offers, of course, on the ES, but not on the Camry. The rest of the profile, you can see there are these nice little cut lines along the side to kind of give it a little bit more of an aggressive look. And then with the two-tone roof, you get a black painted side mirror. These are not power folding, however, but you do get integrated turn signals and a 360 camera. That's part of the Premium Plus package. And then, of course, with the Premium or Premium Plus package, you get that nice panoramic sunroof. That's a great feature that lets in a lot of light. It looks good, of course, with the black two-tone roof. As I back away from the Camry, this is probably the better looking angle for me. It's just a very sleek looking sporty sedan. And it really shows that some buyers really want a sedan still, especially if you are getting tired of seeing so many crossovers out there. This is definitely something that's a little bit sportier and a little bit more unique. Now, as you move around to the rear, you can see the rear of the Camry has the same kind of hammerhead style for the taillights, which are full LED taillight. I also think the supersonic red looks good with the black accented rear deck lid spoiler, that black line that kind of goes through the back that spells out Camry. Lots of badging back here. It's got their new Beyond Zero badge. The all-wheel drive badge there, as you can see, lets everybody know you have all-wheel drive. And then with the LED taillights, they certainly have a nice upscale premium look. I also love the much more aggressive rear diffuser on the XSE trim, and this is the only trim, I believe, or maybe the SE gives it to you too, that gives you a chrome outlet dual tip there. Although there was a time where Camrys used to have a quad outlet system. Those days, of course, are long gone. Now, looking at the cargo area, there's a little button here that you can push off to the side. That's what opens up the trunk. And this is a conventional trunk that has hinges that crush your cargo. Toyota says you have 15.1 cubic feet of storage space. 15.1 is pretty good. It actually, the battery pack is around 1.1 kilowatt hours. It lives underneath the floor here, I believe, and it doesn't really take up any additional space. You can see the floor still fold down, or the seats still fold down in a 60-40 manner. And then if you look underneath the floor here, which it's really cold outside, so I really can't even feel my fingers trying to get underneath here. Look underneath here, you can see there is still a temporary spare with the necessary tools, so it's nice how Toyota has included that. So the company really does a great job with the packaging of the battery in this vehicle, and it's nice to see that if you guys prefer a traditional sedan, the trunk in this vehicle is still among the biggest that you're going to find in its class. So Toyota didn't make any changes to the exterior styling of the Camry for 2026, but what about the interior? Before we get inside, you can see here is the key fob for the Camry. All Camrys basically come with the company's intelligent access key. It's Toyota's latest key. It's a nice size. It fits good, I think, in your hands. It's not too big. It feels a little bit flimsy, however, but it has your usual buttons here for lock, unlock. You can also pop open the trunk, and there's a panic feature. There's also a remote start. If you push the lock button 3 times, then hold it on the 3rd try until the lights blink, that'll activate the remote start. My test car also has Toyota's digital key functionality, so if you are an owner of this vehicle, you can use your smartphone as the key fob. Now, as you can see, the door handle has this little 2-line ridge area there. If you touch that, it's on both of the front doors. It'll lock the door for you. If you want to unlock the door, just touch the back of the door handle and that will unlock the door for you. Toyota does not offer a walk-away auto lock or unlock feature. Now, as you can see, looking at the interior of my test car, this is the XSE grade, so Toyota only offers a choice of 2 different colors. This black, basically, with contrast blue stitching, although I think a red stitching would have looked more appropriate here with the red exterior color. Or they also offer a very bright and bold cockpit red interior, which you can get with the supersonic red. If you guys really like red, you can get a red exterior and a red interior, which I think would be a little too much for me. There's a new color this year called Dark Cosmos. That's like a purplish gray. Sadly, my test car is not painted in that color. I personally would love to see that with the cockpit red interior. Now, looking at the door panel, you can see there's a slightly padded soft touch injection molded plastic here with more of that soft text and perforation here. It's nice and padded over here. There's some silver painted plastic, as you can see on the door handles, which is nice. And you can see the window controls, they're one touch for all 4. Pretty high quality window switches, and this is what's new for 2026 is the fact that Toyota has finally added memory seats to the XSE grade. It's part of the premium package, either the premium or premium plus package gives it to you. That feature was exclusively only on the XLE last year, so it's nice to see Toyota has added that. You also get the 9-speaker JBL sound, which sounds okay if you guys are an audiophile. It's a decent sound system, but not as good as some of the competitors. Down here, you can see it's hard touch plastic with additional storage. The driver's seat adjusts in 10 different ways, with, of course, now that 2-person memory. The passenger side only adjusts in 8 ways. It lacks a lumbar adjustment, which I find to be annoying. And then the seats, you can see they're perforated, but the padding is just super hard. And that's kind of where I was hoping Toyota would have fixed the seats for this generation. I had the same complaint in the previous gen Camry. So let me know what you guys think of the seats. If you own this vehicle, if you find them to be a little bit too hard. They do at least hold you in place and they look okay. I just want Toyota to upgrade the padding and make it a little bit softer. Now getting inside, the Camry has only 5.4 inches of ground clearance, so it has that low typical sedan step-in height. As I shut the door doesn't have the most solid sounding thunk, so that doesn't lead to an impression of quality for me as I get in. But once you're inside, you can see this interior is pretty familiar. It's nothing about it is super overwhelming, aside from the fact that there's a lot of piano black plastic, which I don't love. Starting the vehicle up, you can see the power button is here, or where you'd expect it to be. It's blocked by the steering wheel. But because all Camrys are hybrid, there's no traditional starter noise. Instead, everything just kind of whirs to life with the startup chime. It'll say EV and ready in the instrument cluster. That's how you know that the vehicle is ready to be driven. This trim comes with a fully digital 12.3-inch cluster, which is really nice. That's also slightly customizable. You can actually change the way the gauge display looks there. And then upper trims of the Camry will come with the bigger 12.3-inch display. So if you go for an LE, still, it'll include, the LE will basically still just give you a 8-inch display. So it'll have a lot of like unused screen real estate, just black plastic. This definitely looks better, but it's Toyota's latest audio multimedia interface system with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but it's not the newest software we've seen from the RAV4. So I'm hoping Toyota will eventually give us an updated model with their newest software. I don't particularly love, again, all the piano black here. This just shows dust and fingerprints and smudges so easily, especially here. This should have been a different material, I think. The dashboard has a soft touch injection molded plastic, which is nice. You get a head-up display when you get that premium package as well, which is a really expensive touch. The steering wheel, you can see, has paddles to control the eCVT with virtual ratios. The wheel offers a manual tilt telescoping arrangement where you can get a pretty comfortable driving position very nicely, which is great. The wheel is also heated. That's Toyota's Safety Sense 3.0. It's not their latest driver assistance tech, but my test car, because it has the Plus package, also includes the driver monitor, rear cross traffic and front cross traffic braking as well. So that extra, $1,000 certainly gives you an upgraded ADAS system, which is nice. Down here you have actual buttons for the dual zone climate. You have heated and cooled seats, 2-level heated steering wheel, and then you have traditional air vents to adjust the air, which is great. This area is also it's nice and covered in, it's padded and covered in that leatherette. This upper area is also soft touch injection molded plastic, which is nice. Down here you have a wireless phone charging pad. It fits my iPhone 16 Pro Max nicely. There's additional storage here. Traditional shifter for the eCVT. If I put the vehicle in reverse, you have to go for the Premium Plus package for that extra $1,000 to get the full 360 top-down camera. Quality and resolution seems pretty good as well. It's about on par with a lot of its competitors. This is a feature you can't even get in the Honda Accord, so keep in mind that's one of the reasons why the Camry is a little more expensive. You can see your drive mode selector is here. There's an eco, normal, and a sport mode. We'll try out the different drive modes later on. It really only affects the throttle, the transmission gear or shift programming, and the steering weight to it. You can also see there's an EV mode in addition to a auto hold feature, electronic parking brake. Again, lots of piano black plastic here, but pretty good sized cup holders. And there's a nice padded center console lid. Open that up, you can see it's a pretty deep usable storage area. You have a 12 volt in there. Your 2 USBs or 3 USBs are going to be located here. There's an A and 2 C's. And then the glove compartment, as you can see, it goes into the dash. The lid is damped but not lined with felt. It's not the biggest glove box, but at least it offers some additional covered storage. Interior quality and materials, I'd say, is pretty average. Fit and finish seems okay, although I definitely noticed there's a couple of cut lines here that have uneven gaps. That is a little noticeable, especially like right there. You can see a little bit of uneven gaps. Remember, this is just a Camry, but at least the materials they're using is solid, but I'm a little surprised by some of the tolerances here with some of the panel gaps, so I find that to be a little bit annoying. You do have an auto-dimming rearview mirror, no digital camera rearview mirror, and then my test car, as you can see, with that Plus package includes this panoramic sunroof, which does tilt, and it also opens up to vent air with a built-in wind deflector. It only opens up over the front seats. That's the largest that it opens, so it's not the biggest opening sunroof, but it's nice at least that it opens, and it has a retractable shade. So overall, the interior, for the most part, has a pretty open and airy feel. It has most of the tech that you could possibly want. It also has good visibility, good quality materials. I just noticed, however, that at somebody at 5'7", the headroom space could be a little bit better. That sunroof definitely takes up a little bit of headroom here for the front seats. But let's go ahead and hop into the back seat of the latest Camry, because this is also an area where a lot of people are looking at, because this is a mid-size family sedan. The door doesn't open in the widest angle, so keep that in mind. Material quality back here is downgraded from the front. It's all hard touch plastic. It is padded down here, at least where you'd rest your elbow. And then, like I mentioned earlier, one touch up down for the windows. Still have that silver painted plastic door handle with additional storage. These seats, they do not recline, but they do fold down, and you can see the seats themselves have the same black with the perforation and the blue stitching. And there's also that armrest that folds down there, as you can see. Now, getting back here, this is basically my driving position as I shut the door. Toyota says you have around 38 inches of legroom back here. 38 inches is pretty acceptable. This is in between the legroom of the Accord and the Sonata hybrid, so kind of keep that in mind. There is a hump here that intrudes on the middle passenger. Toyota does include rear seat air vents, 2 USB charging ports, an A and a C, but surprisingly no heated rear seats, especially at this price point. You do have 2 storage cubbies here. The headrests are also adjustable. The sunroof comes into the back seat area. And then in terms of the headroom, you can see I have maybe like an inch or 2 of clearance, so it's not the most headroom. That lower roof line gives this car a sportier look, but less practicality. But still, if you plan to use this, to carry some adults or taller friends, the Camry can certainly do so in a pinch. So it's been about 1.5 years since we've been behind the wheel of the latest 9th generation Camry, and I have to say, I see these vehicles everywhere. I mean, Toyota did well over 315,000 units last year. It was the best-selling family sedan here in America, so you're gonna see these pretty much everywhere. Now the Camry, the last one that we drove was also the XSE all-wheel drive trim, which this trim level, I have to say, is a really nice trim, especially if you guys are looking for the sportiest Camry. It definitely has that edge that you don't typically find in the family sedan segment, so I really appreciate that. And the last Camry that we tested did 0 to 60 in around 7.07 seconds. It was surprisingly around 1/2 second slower than the last Accord that I tested. I was kind of hoping that this car would be able to dip into under the 7-second mark, but basically to get the best time, you put the vehicle into sport mode, you put the transmission into sport mode, which means you basically just slap it over to the left here. That's how you put it into its sport setting. And then let's go ahead and pull up to our usual stretch of road here, which is the same road we tested the Camry on last time, and do an acceleration test. So we're gonna brake torque it. There isn't really a launch mode with this car, but it certainly gets off the line really nicely. Ooh, okay, we got 6.84 seconds there. I'll take that. That's on perfectly level ground. Now, Toyota didn't add any more power to this vehicle or whatnot, but this model that we're driving has a little over 2,000 miles on it, so it's properly broken in. But 6.8 seconds is good. I mean, that's the time that I was hoping I was gonna get last year in the Camry, so this is definitely a much improved time. Still, the quickest time we got in the Accord was 6.5 seconds, so the Camry is a smidge slower. I haven't had a chance to test out the front-wheel drive version of the Camry. Remember, the all-wheel drive model adds like a little bit more horsepower, like 7 more horsepower, but you also have 100 pounds of additional weight to lug around. Let's try another run here. This time it's a little bit more uphill though. We'll still brake torque it. No wheel spin because of the all-wheel drive. The engine's also a lot smoother and less noisy versus the Powertrain and the Prius. We got 7.3 seconds there. That's why they're more going slightly uphill. So most real world applications, you're gonna be just around 7 seconds, 0 to 60. On perfectly level ground, brake torquing at 6.8, that's pretty good. That performance is, I'd say, what most people in this segment are looking for speed. And I also really like this hybrid powertrain versus the powertrain you get in the Corolla Cross or the Prius, because this 2.5 liter engine is just far less noisy and far less buzzy versus the 2 liter engine that you get in those models, which have around 194 or 196 horsepower. This 232 is very satisfying. And this powertrain also is found in the Toyota Crown, the new Lexus ES, The upcoming Lexus ES, which I'll be driving in May, will also have this powertrain, so kind of keep that in mind. Now, the beauty about Toyota's hybrid powertrain system is just how seamless it is. When you come to a stop, the gas engine shuts off. It has a very small 1.1 kilowatt-hour battery pack, so it can power itself on pure electricity alone at very low speeds at light throttle applications, but that's how this car gets better gas mileage in the city. Hybrids like this are always going to be much more efficient in city driving because of the stop-and-go nature. When you're on the brakes, the regen braking is able to recapture that energy and put it back into the battery pack, and then it uses that energy to power the vehicle at very low speeds. And when you're moving and the gas engine's not on, it's going to be using obviously no fuel. Highway, however, it's going to be using more fuel because you're dipping into the reserves of the engine a lot more, because that electric motor just doesn't have enough power to push this vehicle out on its own for very high speeds or at heavy throttle applications. But Toyota also does a great job at just the calibration of the friction brakes and the regen braking. It's just a very smooth, seamless, and easy drive. And that's what I love about this car. It's just really easy to live with on a daily basis. The Camry itself also feels really nimble. It turns in on a dime. The steering is also quick, responsive, direct. It doesn't offer much in terms of feedback, but the suspension also stays surprisingly planted, and that's gonna give you a feeling of confidence when you're driving this vehicle. So I very much appreciate just how sporty this car is to drive, and it's the sportiest driving, Camry you're ever gonna drive, really. Of course, some may argue that the old XSE V6 is probably sportier still. That model had lots of wheel spin and torque steer, so keep that in mind. Let's try another run here. We're gonna brake torque it this time. Again, consistent run there, 6.8 seconds. So we'll take that as our best time. And that basically makes this model a little bit quicker, 0.2 seconds, 0.3 seconds quicker really than the model that we tested about a year and a half ago, although the powertrain is pretty much unchanged from when this car first came out. But I'll switch the drive mode back into normal. We'll just drive this car normally as anybody would, and that's where the seamless nature of this powertrain with the eCVT, it's constantly putting the engine in the meat of its power band. The engine is applying its power to the wheels. This isn't like the e-power system that you'd find in like a Nissan, for example, where it runs off of pure electricity and the engine recharges the battery. That's what Honda's system does as well. That's why the Accord hybrid is a little bit quieter and feels a little more conventional, and it has the fake shifting at times as well, because it functions, the gas engine functions primarily as a generator. This car, however, can apply most of the power to the wheels, and it does so almost all the time. That's why you hear a little bit more groan, but at the same time, it's still a very smooth, efficient powertrain. It accelerates with urgency when you put your foot down. You just have to get used to the noise, but this noisiness, or the noise from this four-cylinder, isn't as drony as the 2-liter four-cylinder that Toyota offers, of course, in their smaller hybrid electric vehicles. The visibility in this car is also good. I can see out of the front, the side, and the rear pretty easily. I wish Toyota would offer a digital camera rearview mirror on this car, but sadly it's not available as an option on this vehicle. I didn't hear any squeaks and rattles in this interior, and in terms of the road noise, Camrys have always been on the quieter side for the most part. This model I noticed had a little bit more road noise than I was expecting, but it's still pretty easy to drive this car on a long trip. It's easy to see out of. The seats, I just hate the seats in this car. They are way too hard. I found the seats to be just too stiff for my taste, and I was kind of squirming around the seat all the time because I just couldn't get comfortable. I really hope Toyota addresses that by putting some softer padding in the seats, although that might be a reason why they want you to buy a Lexus or a Crown. Those models, if I remember correctly, have much better seats. So the Camry seats are just kind of a bleh for me. I don't like these seats at all. In terms of fuel efficiency, this model is rated to get 43 combined. In my week's worth of testing, it's been pretty cold. It's been below freezing most of the time. In the city, this car was doing around 43 to 45 mpg, which is excellent. And that's because, again, you can tap into it using the electric power alone. On the highway, however, it dropped the fuel economy considerably to 35 miles to the gallon. 35 is a lot less than what the EPA says. Again, I'm constantly dipping into the accelerator, going around 75 to 80 miles an hour. It just doesn't give it the opportunity to shut the engine off at those speeds, at those throttle applications, so you're gonna be using more fuel. With its 13-gallon fuel tank, I got around 450 miles of range on a full tank, which is still good. It's about 100 miles shy of what the EPA says you should do, but still, this is going to be, easily 200 more miles of range versus an electric vehicle that you might be cross-shopping the Camry with. So overall, this is still a really easy car to live with. Has very near top of the class acceleration. It's the only vehicle in the segment that offers hybrid power with all-wheel drive. And the ride quality is agreeable. Visibility is good. The technology is fine. There's my Apple CarPlay, as you can see, connected. It takes up mostly the entire screen. You can also push this button here, and that will get rid of the native functions there off to the side. So overall, I can still see why so many people enjoy driving a Camry, why it's such a pleasant vehicle. Just make sure you try out the seats for yourselves, make sure you like them. But this is, again, the only hybrid sedan on the market that you can get, at least in this class, that gives you all-wheel drive. Now, last year here in America, Toyota managed to sell a little over 316,000 Camrys in the States. That actually did a little bit better for Toyota versus the same time in 2024. I think they managed to sell around 5,000 to 10,000 more units, which is huge because it really shows other automakers that there's still a market for a family sedan. This was Toyota's second best-selling vehicle, right behind, of course, the Toyota RAV4, but still outselling the Honda Accord, its main rival, by a whopping 2-to-1. So after spending a full week with the latest 2026 Camry, it's pretty easy to see why so many consumers still choose this vehicle. The fact that it comes standard with an electrified hybrid powertrain means it gets one of the best efficiencies you're going to find. Combine that, of course, with pretty good acceleration. 0 to 60 in the 7-second mark is going to be fast enough for most people. And I love the fact that Toyota still offers all-wheel drive with the hybrid powertrain. That's a combination that you can't even get in the current Lexus ES, although that's going to be changed, of course, for 2026. There's still plenty of reasons to choose the latest Camry due to its appealing, efficiency and potent acceleration. And of course, the handling dynamics of this XSE are also still very good. While it's obviously not, a sports sedan, it's definitely a sporty drive, especially if you're comparing it to an SUV or you're coming from an SUV. The steering in the vehicle is surprisingly quick. The ride quality remains supple, if a little bit on the firmer side with this XSE grade. And the styling of this vehicle, I think, looks even better than the previous generation. It's going to age really well. It's got a comfortable back seat. The tech in the car is pretty much average. It would be nice to see Toyota eventually upgrade the software to the one that you find in the RAV4. But what I think Toyota needs to address, however, are the seats. I think the seats are definitely a little too hard, which is a complaint that I had on the previous generation Camry. So let me know in the comment section below if you guys also find the seats to be uncomfortable in this vehicle. At least for me and my body type, I'm not really a fan of the seats in this car, and that could be a deal breaker for me personally. Now, if you're interested in buying the latest Camry, Toyota has also kept the pricing pretty well in check. The base LE trim with front-wheel drive starts at around $29,100, so just under $30,000. That price is a little more expensive than the Accord, but keep in mind if you want an Accord hybrid, the Accord is roughly $4,000 more than the Camry, and that's because there's not a base LX trim on the hybrid Accord. Going up to the SE trim will cost you just under $32,000. There's a new Nightshade trim that basically is an SE with black accents. That's another $1,000 more. If you guys want the more luxury-oriented Camrys, there's the XLE for 34 grand. This XSE is the most expensive at just over 35 grand to start. Now, if you guys want to add all-wheel drive, it's available on all trims basically for an extra $1,500. A little pricey if you guys want all-wheel drive. And then my test car has a couple of options like the Premium Plus package. That's like $4,700, I believe. It's pretty expensive for the Premium Plus package, but it gives you a lot of features, including a new memory seat function, panoramic sunroof, 360 camera, upgraded ADAS system. This color upcharge is also $1,000. Add in the destination charge and you're looking at an as-tested price of just under $44,000. I know 44 grand for this Camry is expensive, I have to say. It's basically the starting point of the current Lexus ES, but keep in mind the Lexus, when you add in the options that this Camry has, which by the way, this has a lot of options that a Lexus used to only offer, like rain sensing wipers, for example, and a 360 camera, the Lexus is going to be roughly about $5,000 to $10,000 more, and the current ES doesn't offer all-wheel drive, and it also has less power. There's also the Toyota Crown, the Crown sedan, which basically has this powertrain with 4 more horsepower. The Crown's a little bit higher. It's supposedly more luxurious. It's a little bit larger on the outside. A Crown will cost you about $5,000 more. So in general, the Camry is still a lot of car for the money here. And for those of you who wouldn't be caught in it dead in an SUV, I definitely still think this is worth a look. Just make sure that you find the seats to be comfortable, because that's always going to depend on you specifically. But with all that said, hope you guys have enjoyed my latest detailed overview on the 2026 Toyota Camry in this fully loaded trim. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.